Hi guys, this is Miss Brown speaking. So this is actually part 2 of the Solve Two-Step Equations video. And the equations that we're going to talk about are a little different than what we've been doing, yet they're the same. So if you notice, we're going to solve problem 17 in 2 ways. Remember, when we are solving equations, our goal is to isolate the variable or get that variable by itself. And remember, our step 1 is to undo the addition or subtraction or the positive or negative of the constant. And then the second step is to undo the coefficient of the variable. Okay. So if you look at number 17, we have 7 times parentheses p minus 3 equals 35. So we're going to have to do something. We have options. We could distribute first if we want to. And we've already talked about distributing. Remember, that's when we're giving something out. And here we're giving out that 7, or we're multiplying 7 times p, which would give us 7p. And then we have to take 7 and multiply it by that negative 3. 7 times negative 3 is negative 21, and that equals 35. After we distribute, we can follow the steps above. So remember, we're trying to isolate our variable. Our variable happens to be on the left-hand side. So we need to focus our efforts on the left-hand side. We need to look for the constant. Remember, the constant is the number without a variable. And our constant is right here. That happens to be a negative 21. We have to do the opposite of negative 21 or the opposite of subtracting 21. Either way, it looks like this. The opposite of a negative is a positive, or the opposite of subtracting is adding. So I'm adding 21 to both sides. But remember, we have that seesaw. If 21 kids jump on one side, then 21 kids better jump on the other side, or we're going to have some issues. And so we have 7p remaining. Negative 21 plus 21 is 0. 0 is nothing, and that's what I'm going to write, nothing. And 35 plus 21 is 56. So now we have 7 times p equals 56. So now we need to look for that coefficient, or the number that multiplies the variable. Our coefficient is at 7. And to undo that multiplication, we have to undo multiplication with division. So I'm going to divide that side by 7. But what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. 7 divided by 7 leaves me with 1p equal to 56 divided by 7 is 8. And remember, we can always go back and check our work. How do we do that? Just take that p, or our value for p, and plug it in. Let's figure out what is 7 times 8 minus 3. Well, according to order of operations, I should do 8 minus 3 first. So 8 minus 3 is 5, and I have to turn around and multiply that 5 by 7, which gives me 35, which is exactly what it should be, so our answer is correct. Let me show you an alternate way to solve the same problem. So notice this says 7 times p minus 3. Well, if I just had something like 7x equals 35, how we would solve that is we would divide both sides by 7, right? Well, this is similar. Really, we could, if we wanted to, divide both sides by 7 first. 7 divided by 7 is 1, leaving us with just p minus 3. equals, and then 35 divided by 7 is 5. So now we have the equation p minus 3 equals 5. Well, keep your eye on the fact that we need to get the variable by itself. And the variable is right here. And the reason why it's not by itself is because it has this -3 beside it. So we ask ourselves, how can I undo that -3? I can undo that -3 with a +3, or you can think about it like I undo subtract 3 with a add 3. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So that leaves me with p. -3 plus 3 is 0, and that's what I'm writing, nothing, 0. And 5 plus 3 is 8. Either way, we got the same answer. Let's look at another problem. So this says a minus 4 over 3 equals -7. Again, we can think about this problem in two different ways. Remember, we talked about grouping symbols, and we said that the stuff in the numerator and denominator are in grouping symbols. This is actually equivalent to a minus 4 times a third, okay? If you want to think about it like that. And this is not the way I would do this problem, quite frankly. So you could distribute that third, okay? And you could say 1/3 times a equals, you can write it as 1/3 a if you wanted to, which I wouldn't write it like that. An alternate way to write it is a over 3. That's the way I would write it. Okay. Minus, and then we have to take a positive 1/3 and multiply it by a -4/3, which would, we have to take a positive 1/3 and multiply it by a -4, which is going to give us a -4/3 equals -7. Okay, so remember, we need to isolate the variable. Right now, we need to get rid of that -4/3. So the opposite of a -4/3 is a +4/3. And what we do to one side, we do to the other. Okay, so that gives me a over 3. -4/3 plus 4/3 is 0, which is nothing. Now, here's where we have to be careful. This right here. I'm going to write an alternate form of -7. Can we agree? I hope we can agree that 21 divided by 3 is 7. And I'm going to make that negative because I need a -7. But I still need to add to it 4/3. So 21/3 plus a positive 4/3 is going to give me give me just one second, -17/3. Okay, so going back down here, -7 plus 4/3 is -17/3. But right now, our variable, which is right here, that variable is not by itself because it is being divided by 3. So the opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. But what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, so what's going to happen is this 3 here and that 3 there is going to cancel out, leaving us with just a. And since I'm out of room, I'm going to write this up top. A equals, And then on the right-hand side, this 3 and that 3 are going to simplify out, leaving us with just negative 17 over 1. Negative 17 divided by 1 is just negative 17. And again, if you're unsure about your answer, just take your answer and plug it in. So I'm going to ask myself, what is negative 17 minus 4 divided by 3? Well, negative 17 minus 4, I have to add the opposite. So negative 17 plus negative 4 is negative 21 divided by 3. And negative 21 divided by 3 is just negative 7, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. So our answer up here is correct. Check. Now, I would not have done that problem that way at all, honestly. This is what I would have done. I would have realized again that this is the same thing as this being in parentheses, right? And so I would have said, well, I need to get rid of that divide by 3 on the bottom. And the opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. And what's going to happen is these 3's on top and bottom are going to simplify out, leaving me with just a minus 4 equals. And then on the right-hand side, negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Okay? But remember, we've got to get the variable by itself. The variable is right here, that a, and right now it's not by itself because there is a negative 4 over there. Or we're subtracting 4, however you want to think about it. So the opposite of a negative 4 is a positive 4, or you could think about it as the opposite of subtracting 4 is adding 4. Remember, what we do to one side, we do to the other. So I'm going to bring down that a. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Now, be careful with this part right here. So I have negative 21 plus 4. All right, a negative 21 plus 4 is a negative 17. And that is our answer. All right, guys, have a great day.